So what's the purpose of the video questions? What are we doing with those?
Yeah, what are we doing with those? We instituted those a while ago. I feel like it's close to a decade. And at the time, the idea was to have a better way to assess English language ability than sort of the TOEFL or the IELTS. So we actually don't require any English language tests now because we have the video questions. But the idea is really to get a better sense of you as a person, more three-dimensional sense of you beyond what is in your written application, and see how you think on your feet. How you respond to these kind of pre-recorded but extemporaneous questions that we will give you.
What would you recommend people do to prepare for the video questions?
Yeah, so the video questions, I think the video questions are an application element that cause a particularly acute stress among kids because it's a little bit unique to us. Some other schools do it, but not a lot of other schools. It is something that's a little less familiar and maybe seems a little like, I don't know, higher stakes or a little more unusual. I would think to prepare, I would start by saying try not to be stressed. It's really we talk about using it with a light touch. It's not going to make or break the application, and we're not trying to trick you or throw curveballs. The questions will be ones you should be able to answer without any real background knowledge or specific preparation. Be comfortable with the platform, which in the post-pandemic world, people are very comfortable with Zoom. It's very similar to that, so hopefully that'll be easy to do. And just be get into a nice quiet space and try to relax. And I say have fun with it, although it's not a fun thing for people, but just don't put too much pressure on yourself with it.
Anything you'd recommend people not do during their video questions?
Yeah, so I think a few things, definitely in the vein of, these are questions you should be able to answer. Don't try to write out answers. This is an area where we actually see people, I think, using a good bit of AI. We actually have an AI policy on the proper uses of AI. We obviously don't recommend or prohibit it. If you want to use it, there are certain ways in which you should or can use it. Telling you how to answer your video questions is not one of those ways, and it becomes kind of clear that that's happening. So I would advise against doing that. And in general, writing and reading a pre-recorded or pre-written response, we want to hear from you directly. The responses don't need to be perfect. It's actually better to have an imperfect but genuine response than to have a pre-written response.
So you're saying if I come away from my video questions feeling like, gosh, I bombed those, does that mean that I can't get into Yale SOM?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, you probably didn't bomb them because you probably did better than you thought you did. Well, you probably did better than you thought you did. And I would say I feel like we really use them in an additive way. It's going to help lift up some people who maybe didn't kind of jump out quite as much in the initial submission, but who were really interested in sort of bringing to the community. It tends not to really disqualify people, and so I'd try to take the pressure off yourself and don't feel like it's going to kind of dictate the outcome of your application.